Hey y'all. Welcome back to this Saturday Live where we hang out. I see I have one person with me. Hi. You was waiting. You was like, ooh, Chimby about to be online. Ooh. Is it you, Mimi Simp Mimi Simp Joy? I'm gonna feel bad if that's your real name. I think I'm thinking simp like how the culture refers to simping. If it's your real name, I apologize. And are you actually a Caucasian male? I had a post on Instagram because I just got into sewing, y'all. It's so freaking cool. I love it. I literally dream about sewing. And I made a post about how the patriarchy is really a mother effer because there's a story that sewing is women's work. It's a very American story, as many people pointed out to me in the comments, that sewing is women's work, and it's a shame because it's really, really cool. Like it's very cool to be able to turn something with your hands, with your light, with your intelligence, and shape our world into something magical through fabric. Um, and the fact that a whole set of people in our society, predominantly men, but also the women who like don't want to be associated with things that are tied with being like weaker than or less than, haven't been given exposure to this kind of art, and it hasn't been elevated in our culture in the same way as other types of art, is such a shame because it's so freaking cool. So I shared that on Instagram. Y'all, the way the patriarchy was like, what did you say? The way, y'all, I promise, I have never gotten a racial slur on my Instagram this whole time. People were just leaving slurs. I was like, whoa, whoa. And at first I was like, if a system is solid, it doesn't need to be defended, you know? So the fact that y'all coming out swinging hard against this, it says something about about the system. But then I thought deeper, which is like, if anyone's ever at a point in their journey where they're like really, really scared, really going through it, really struggling, and they're in that like wounded animal, like lashing out phase, like it really just points to what they've gone through, what they are still going through, and how hard they are finding it to to be right. Because if you're vibing, like you're vibing, you're not mad at nobody. Like you chill. But if you're going through it, like that's kind of the motivation, the drive and the energy behind more negative stuff online. And I was like, "Oh, that's a bummer." And if especially if you're going through it and you don't know you're going through it, and then someone like pokes you in a wound that you didn't know you have. So there's one that's like, "Ow," and then it's like, "I didn't even know I had this wound here." And if you ain't ready for that, you know. Which is to say, when I made, and this happened before I made the title of this live, and I made the title of this live, because a while ago I made a reel about dating this white guy, and I used a Roddy Rich song. I won't repeat it. If you want to see it, go on my Instagram. And then I was feeling like, I hope this isn't racist. So then I put it on my Instagram on my story as a poll. And I was like, y'all, is this racist? And one option was like, yes, definitely. And the other option was, and it was about dating white men. And the other option was, I don't date white men. And the number of people who picked that and the number of white women who picked that, I was like, oh. And so in talking about having a video this week about what I learned from my relationship, and I made a point, y'all, I did not mention that this was a relationship with a white man because I knew it would be a thing. I was like, I don't have the capacity, I don't have the energy, I cannot engage. Cannot engage. It's gonna pull focus. Let me just talk about what I'm trying to talk about, right? Before live. Y'all know I got time and y'all know I got energy. So that's what we're gonna kind of talk about a little bit, or not, who knows? Let me see what's going on in the chat. Hi, Changes. Hi, Chandre. Pretty. First time catching me live. Welcome. Does the name Chandre mean anything? Hey, Changes. You refuse to tell me your government name. I'm gonna bring it up every single time until you tell me. Sulpicius is a really interesting name, and your message has been retracted. So you were either saying something wild and then you realized that you knew better, or you just made a mistake. And we'll just allow us to remain in the unknown of whichever one that is. Hi, Danelle. You're my favorite. Hi, Ashley. Hi. Um, Quilting is also underrated. I did a little bit of, you know what I'm talking about. That one? Knitting. I did a little bit of knitting. Very cool, very meditative. Quilting is patterns, right? Like you have the squares and then, but I think it's also different and there's also levels. Hi, Amani. Hi. Y'all, Amani is secretly rich. Sorry to blow up your spot, Amani. Amani is secretly rich. She is very literally going to Bali in like a couple of weeks or something. Let me know if I have the details right on that. She's living her best life. If you ever hear her say otherwise, she's lying. She's thriving. We love to see it. Um, so yeah, that is kind of the topic that I have in mind for this live. And it really is a question. It's a question to you all, the people who chose to hang out with me on this gorgeous Saturday afternoon. Are you all dating white men? Have you been in an interracial relationship? Was it with a white person? Are you in fact white? Do you date other white people? That's its own thing. The way white people are like, yeah, I don't date white people. And the same thing that happens with black people too. It happens with every race where it's like, yeah, something about people who look like me really turns me off. I feel bad laughing like I'm making fun of that position because it's only ever trauma. So it's not like it's funny, but something about like the starkness of it amuses me. And one thing I'm realizing, and it's always been true, but now I'm realizing it more, is we really all have a responsibility to show up in light, in truthfulness, in compassion. And when we don't, when we're careless about that, it just leads to hurting people. And I am kind of hesitant slash scared about showing up more in the collective because of the unconscious parts of myself that I'll show up in. And then people will be like, the fuck? And I'll be like, oh, I didn't know. And then I'll have to learn the hard way. And I hate learning things the hard way, you know? So yeah, it's something I'm working on. Chandra, I said it right. We'd love to see it. Not sure if it means anything. You'll have to look into it. But it's a blend of your parents' names. I love that. I think that's very sweet. Hi, Celia. Good morning. How is New Orleans treating you? How I feel like there hasn't been any wild ass hurricanes. I feel like people think New Orleans, they think of Essence Fest, they think of Mardi Gras, and they think of Hurricane Katrina. Is that fair? And I feel like there hasn't been anything wild in terms of hurricanes. Or is it that it's going to happen, or that the season is later in the year? And are you scared? And how have you dealt with the fear of just the just Mother Nature's impact on that part of our region? No one's popping in whether or not they are in interracial relationships. Am I gonna have to carry this live myself, y'all? Is this gonna be a one-woman show? I thought we were on the same team here. I thought we were co-creating this live. Y'all are really just like leaving me out here. Okay, Chandra's letting me know. She went on a few dates with white men, but never committed to a relationship. You know, there is a meme from either Tia or Tamara. I still don't know them separately, and that's on me. But the one who's dating the white man. And it's from when she was on that show, and she's weeping about the racist treatment that she's gotten because she is married to a white man. And there's a clip of "They call me white man's whore," and it's her. She is in tears. She's in full tears, y'all. She's upset, and that has become a meme. It's become a meme whenever we're lusting after a white man, a white celebrity. We throw that meme right underneath it, like, ooh, you know. And I think that's it's such a toxic thing in the internet that like if someone expresses any intense emotion, we immediately turn it into parody. But I had this conversation with this white man where I was like, you know that that's what they're gonna call me. Like that's what I'm gonna have to go through is the people who are like, okay. All right. And all types of, really charged like racial sentiments. And I think what's also very interesting is the sort of cultural fascination with interracial couples. Um, I used to joke that if I really wanted my YouTube to pop off, back when it was like a natural hair predominantly channel, I would just get a white man and I would make an introduction and it'd be like, white man touches my hair, like all that kind of stuff. And I know it would do very, very well. Um, but I never did that, obviously, and maybe never will. But who knows? God's plan. I'm open. I do think there is a bunch of healing, ancestral healing that could happen through relationship because I think given what my family experienced from being from Nigeria and coming into America and all like the racism and stuff, part of my like programming is like, yeah, we don't trust white people. They can't be trusted. They are competition to be beaten. Um, yeah, and just be careful, just really be careful around them. And I think there's some part of me that recognizes that as programming. And then there's the unconscious wounded part of me that still is like deep down is like, yeah, it's true though. Like, look at the look at the world, look at the evidence. Like it speaks for itself. Like just be freaking careful around them. Um, Tamara dates the white guy. Thank you, Kay. Tamara, okay. Tamara. I was gonna say Tamara, white man sore, but that's not fair. Tamara is dating the white man. Also, one thing I've realized is like people are determined to feel however they want to feel about you. So if they I'm trying to curse a little bit less. If they fuck with you, then they fuck with you. If they don't, they don't. So it just really doesn't matter. Because I was gonna mention how like I also think he is a Republican or something. So that's part of why people are like, really, girl? Like there's like levels to why people feel a way about it. But I'm like, it doesn't even really matter. Ultimately, if people like you, they're gonna like you and support you and be understanding and compassionate. And if they don't, they're gonna be like, well, I heard this about so and so, and she don't love herself, and it's okay to blah 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 blah. Um, and it's interesting thinking about. I was sharing this with one of my coaching consults about how because she kind of had a fear around showing up online again after having taken a break, and what would people say? Like, oh, she's back, but she's only going to quit again. And I was like, that literally hasn't happened because you haven't come back yet, which means that's your own internal voice saying that. And so the question really is like, where is that voice coming from? And when we think about the parts of ourselves, yeah, that attack each other, that like are really hurtful in those ways, those are the parts of us that need love. And just being able to like really pour compassion on the fact like that you know best for yourself what you're supposed to be doing. You know best for yourself. If you need a break, you know best for yourself how you're supposed to be showing up. Truly, no one can tell you how to live your life. Um, but I think a lot of us still we can say that intellectually, but it's really hard for us to embody and then live a life where truly we're not letting people tell us what's okay and how to live. But it just never works to try to bend yourself bend yourself backwards to like please people because it doesn't matter. Like you can never please somebody else because the problem they have with you is not about you, it's about them. And I feel like that's like a really big lesson I'm learning, continuing to learn. And I think it shows up a lot in creativity because a lot of us may have this idea that our creations are only valid when other people outside of us say they're valid. And there was my friend sent me this video about essentially why you shouldn't care about what other people think. And there's a line from like Aristotle, Socrates, one of those like old philosopher people that was just like, why would you want a bunch of like ignorant, uninformed, dumbass motherfuckers clapping for you when they don't know shit? Like it was very much like, not only should you not want applause, but why would you want applause from people who don't know shit? And I was like, oh, I never thought of it that way. And also it was real aggressive. And I'm like, damn, he was really aggressive back then. And it's like, it really shifts the discourse when you consider that the people that we want the likes and the follows and all the like attention from are not people who are thriving and joyful and happy and living their best life and whatever, whatever. It's people who like maybe aren't and are living vicariously through you. And I feel like at the same time, I am a big supporter of people online and I live in my best life. So it's not that you can only, there's one or the other. Um, but when I think about like Thomas Hubel, for instance, uh, he's not probably too concerned about how many YouTube subscribers he has. And part of me is like, okay, that's where I want to get. I want to get to the point where like it's nice, but it's actually really not really genuinely not just I say it, but it's genuinely not actually a big deal because I'm doing work that's a lot more important. And I feel very grateful because I feel like the coaching stuff is getting me back on track around that. Amani said, "Well, damn," but I don't know what you said, "Well, damn," to, girl. So please feel free to tell me what I said that really resonated. Um, Angelia is saying there is so much freedom from not caring what people think. Yeah, and I think what's so interesting is like it's the people who don't care what other people think who are the most attractive and the most magnetic and the most like they have this charisma that we want to like have a part of because we all know deep down that we're not supposed to care. And so when someone actually is living it and not just saying it, we're like, oh my gosh, this is so hot. This is so freaking hot. Oh, Amani about the philosophers. Yeah. Yeah. Um, one thing I want to share that my friend told me about dating that really stuck with me. So I'm going to share in case it sticks with you was actually about black relationships and dating like African American people in this in America and what can happen when you are dating another black man or dating a black man who is African American. And she was talking about, and this is if you are like are having a trauma informed conscious relationship, I guess. But she was saying that at some point in the relationship, the ancestral trauma, the collective trauma that comes from slavery and specifically comes from men, like black men being unable to defend and keep safe black women and like being like emasculated in that way by white men, like eventually that will show up in the relationship because it's part of like the unhealed trauma within the black male community and the way that part of like like part of what could be a subconscious motivating factor for black men to date outside of their race and not date black women is because of the pain of having to deal with that part of like our ancestral like collective history around being like made to like watch as like black women were like treated all types of terrible ways and not being able to like defend and live into their like divine embodied masculine as a result of like our systems of oppression here in America. And I had never heard that. And I was like, dang, that's intense. So part of me wonders, like, oh, because there's so many different types of men we can be with, y'all. So I love the idea of being with like another Nigerian American who grew up in America. So we like have the tie to Nigeria, but we're mostly American, like someone who's just like me in that way. But then hearing that, I was like, oh, but if I get with a black man, I wonder what extent that trauma will like show up in our relationship. Hi, Martine. How are you? You came in when I was talking about trauma. As always, I feel like I'm always talking about trauma, y'all. I feel like I need to update my like banner on my YouTube to be like energy, spirituality, trauma, exclamation point, joyful trauma. We love it here. Um, but yeah, and I'd be curious if you are dating a black man, has that shown up in your relationship? Do you consider your relationship to be a trauma informed relationship? Which is interesting to think about. Um, yeah. And to what extent, like the idea of consciousness, the idea of like bettering yourself, the idea of like embodying your best self is present in your relationship versus the elements of like, that's like the main thing, or one of the reasons why I'm hesitant to be in a relationship is because I don't want to be in a trauma bond. I don't want to be attracted to somebody on the wound level. And so I end up just repeating cycles of trauma in the relationship. And I don't want to be so in that like I really start to suffer and go on this terrible downward spiral because I'm unable to like extract myself from the relationship. So I think as a result, I only ever put one foot in a relationship anyway because I always need to be able to get the F out. And then as a result, the relationship can only go so far, but it keeps me safe, right? So it's interesting thinking about like if y'all really see me in a real ass relationship, who I will be at that point, what that relationship will look like at that point, and if I'll tell y'all about it, and if I'll even show up. um, and be like a public figure in that way because it does seem like a very key part of my healing journey. Chandra says they've got a friend that recently married a white man. I don't know why I feel like it was a surprise if we're not talking about interracial relationships. I'm just like, a white man, okay, a choice. And you're happy that she found someone to truly love her. We love that. However, I find it difficult to understand how culturally we could relate. You know, that's a real question. That is a real question. And what I realized, I was talking to a friend, hey, Sika girl, and she's a short, lovable woman. And she was mentioning just the subtle, she said something. She was like, in relation to her height, she was saying, this world wasn't built for people like me. And I was like, what? Like, that's a real intense ass statement to just drop at a happy hour. She was like, this world wasn't built for people like me. And there's so much that I take for granted given my height that I don't have to think about. I just don't have to think about because the world was made for people of my height. Like it's shit's convenient, right? And I feel like that is the main difference that I would wonder about is like, you don't know what you don't know until someone tells you. And they have to know that they're safe enough to tell you, and you'll react in a way that isn't defensive, but is actually like, oh, is that what it's like for y'all? Like, shoot, didn't know, my bad. Like, and what can I do as someone who has some kind of institutional power to change the system so that we can each have this beautiful, incredible life, right? And there's so much that's like that racially, and the extent, like, and it's so painful. I think that's the hard part is that it's like deep wound stuff that's like a lot. So if you already aren't in any way conscious of that stuff, and then you aren't like strong enough in your personhood that when someone says, hey, by the way, we actually have this system that doesn't really benefit me, but it really benefits you, instead of being like, well, I still work hard. I didn't have it easy. I didn't have it handed to me. And it's just like, yeah, I wasn't saying that. I was just saying that the way the system, and like some people, like, it's intense because it's so painful. And yeah, all the power to the people who are willing to engage in those relationships because it takes a lot of vulnerability, it takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of strength. And when it's able to be like held in this really loving container, it's really beautiful, and it like allows for like this transmutation of all this pain into love. So it really is remarkable when people are willing to like step into the fire and step into these unhealed parts of our like personal and our like collective trauma and say, hey, like it stops with me. Like this pain, this trauma, this cycle of abuse, the trauma bonds, the hate, the division, doesn't it stops here. It stops with me. So I give your friend credit. It's yeah, she's really brave. Joy is engaged to a white man. I feel like every reaction I have is so unnecessarily intense. I'm like, you're engaged to a white man. Wow. How long have y'all been dating? Did you always know he was white? Isn't that a fun question? It's like, why wouldn't I have known, girl? Um, is this your first white man or have you dated a few? Is your family and friends, are they accepting or are they racist? Same thing for his family and friends. Are you going to answer any of these questions because I'm a woman on the internet asking you very personal questions about your romantic relationship? I will leave it to you, Joy. You let me know. You let me know where you are with that. Christina agrees with Chandra. She does not date white men simply because she does not want to explain cultural differences all the time. That's real. I have friends who have different cultures, and I always ask questions, and I'm always like, and if you want, feel free to say, go to Google, girl. But sometimes it's nice to hear not only like, oh, you belong to this culture, what's your perspective, but you as a person have a unique perspective, and I love to hear the combination of your perspective with the cultural perspective. And I'm always quick to say, and if you want me to Google it, you just let me know. Like I have a friend who's in the Jewish community, and she was talking to me about Jewish American versus European American versus like Israeli American Jews versus European Jews versus Israeli Jews. And she went to this event where they were all having this dialogue. And I was like, whoa, it hadn't even occurred to me to think about all the different identities and like where they're coming from different spots. And so I was like, wow, what are some of the differences between these different perspectives? And if I should go to Google and ask, let me know, because I don't want you to feel like you have this burden of explaining all these things to me. Um, and yeah, to make it like a life, not a lifelong, but maybe actually like a lifelong thing. Because also at every stage of your life, it'll be different, right? Like in your 20s and your 30s, how you're interacting with the world racially changes compared to being like an old white man versus an old black woman. Like that is going to be its own different experience. Things around how the healthcare system will treat you, just like things about how people on the street will treat you will just kind of shift as you get older. And so, yeah, you're really signing up for a whole life of constant growth and learning, which is incredible. It's very incredible. So now says she's short and lovable, and that is true. Hi, Lily. And hi, Leah. I love Leah spelled like that. Thank you for finally making it to a live. Finally, your schedule aligned with my schedule. It was about time, Leah. It was about time. He was waiting for you. Joy has been with this person for 5 years, and they've been 2 years engaged. Okay, so that means maybe pandemic times y'all got engaged. And then the actual wedding is coming soon. Are you gonna do a fancy wedding, or are you gonna elope, or are you going to do a chill wedding? I want to get, I want to get married in a forest. I want to get married where it's like a secret location, and you have to really know me, and I like text it to you like the day before, and you're like wandering through a forest, and you come to a clearing, and you're like, oh shit, a wedding, and then we get married, and let me have a dance under the full moon. You know? Doesn't that sound fun? Um, I'm looking through the chat. We have about 3 minutes, and then I'm gonna hop to the Patreon, patreon.com/chimdy, and we're gonna have an actual dialogue, not just the me talking at y'all kind of dialogue. Joy is saying regarding this white man that she is engaged to, she's been with him for 5 years. They have been engaged for 2, that the family loves him a little too much. It kind of bothers her. Love that. His family is cool, which is itself a loaded word, but the cultural differences are deep, which is also, we love the way words hold energy. That word is holding a lot of energy. They are they are not racist. We love when it starts with, and they are not racist. Because I feel like there's a but. I pause. I stop my eyes from reading further, but I feel like there might be a but. Yes, there is. They are not racist, but, and I heard something where it's like everything after the but doesn't matter. All that matters is whatever comes after the but. So the real sentence is they don't understand things. And then there was a dot, dot, dot. So, you really make every word count, Joy. And I love that for us. Every single word is telling like 5 to 10 different stories. But they're trying, but it's really hard. Okay, well, what's beautiful, Joy, as I said, is like, you're doing the Lord's work. The Lord's work is the work of unity, it's the work of compassion, it's the work of love, it's the work of understanding differences, of bridging differences, of creating a new world, of creating heaven on earth. What you are doing is the Lord's work. Not for describing your relationship like you're doing community service, but no, like for the global community, for all people on the planet, your marriage, your love represents incredible, transcendental, like powerful ass, God level shit. So, do you. When it's hard, but they're trying and you stick with it and you don't just curse them out and leave the relationship, all of us benefit from your patience and your compassion. Assuming this is rooted in love and isn't a trauma bond, which I'm assuming it is. I'm just assuming you've done the work. And if you're hanging out here on this live, it's because you've done the work, right? So there's this YouTuber who I don't watch anymore, which is interesting, who would say things like, if you're watching videos like this, clearly you get it. Clearly you're one of us. Clearly you're blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I feel like that's low key divisive, but because I am clearly watching the video, I actually am. And I was like, that's such an interesting, like, marketing sales tool. But I think there's really just something more on the level of like, you spend time with the things that vibrate with you, that resonate with you. So if you're here watching my channel, watching a live on a Saturday afternoon, and all I do on my channel is talk about healing and trauma and love and Jesus and Thomas Hubel, then chances are you know what I'm talking about, and you're a real one, and you're doing the work, and your relationship is going to be blessed. And I'm excited for you, and congratulations. Hi, Patrice. You're coming right at the end. We're wrapping things up. Thank you, Celia, for saying my secret forced wedding would be incredible. You know you'll be invited, girl. I'm gonna head over to the Patreon and hang out with those folks. Maybe we'll talk further. Celia, tell me about your wedding plans. Ooh. Um, oh, Simone, you are so late. And I've never seen it spelled that way. I really like it. Come on, Simone. Next time. Next time. You missed the whole thing. Come on. What was more important than being here with me? Okay. Bye. 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 Thanks. Bye.